Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, I'm going to share with you the teaching module on what's in a puso. Next slide, please. So this is for the year level grade 9 and grade 10. And the thematic unit will be technology and livelihood education or cookery. So the text that we will be using here is Hanging Rice by Carlos Cortez and The Puso as Ritual Object by Reynaldo Enosian. So supplementary texts will be introduction in the book Palaspas, An Appreciation of Palm Leaf Art in the Philippines by Elmer Nocheseda, pages 2 to 29, and the assorted illustrations that will be found on pages 192 to 244. Next slide, please. So the methods will be lecture with PowerPoint presentation, teaching demonstration, and group activity. And for the reading approaches, this will be cultural contextualization and intertextuality. The approach here will be demonstration on making the different puso forms. However, this is with the objective that they will be cooked. So they would have to know how to weave first before they can cook it. All right. For our objectives, next slide. This module is related to the goal of developing skills in technology and livelihood education, but also related to the goal of developing further the students' understanding through literature of Cebuanos and other groups where the Puso and its other forms are found, their relationships, values, and cultural identity formation. Next slide, please. So by the end of the lesson, the student should have discussed the history of the Puso from the precolonial to the present times, identified the specific ways Cebuanos use the palm leaf for food preservation, such as, rice pouches, written or discussed his or her appreciation of the beauty of the different Puso forms, and created at least 6 of the Puso forms. But for purposes of this presentation, we can only make 1 at most 2 forms for our workshop. All right, next slide. The rationale for this is Elmer Nocheseda in his book comprehensively discussed the different ways palm leaf has been used creatively in the country, and this contextualizes the Puso in Cebu and its variations in other parts of the country. So the richness of the traditional technique, and Reynaldo Enosian is one of the practitioners who has been actively presenting on the form in the CNU monograph series. So key concepts will be the term ritual object, which refers to the many ways the Puso has been utilized not only as a way to preserve and transport food, but also as a means of showing gratitude to nature because they are used also as offerings. And the concepts of ingenuity are creative processes that is culture-specific and rooted in the specific time and place. So traces of these processes can be found in the articulated historical discussions and photographs in Nocheseda of a group of people vis-a-vis their living tradition and rituals. So before we go to our workshop of making the Puso, let us watch this very short video on how the Puso is made. What's in the Puso? The use of palm leaf is ancient, according to Elmer Nocheseda in his landmark publication, Palaspas, An Appreciation of Palm Leaf Art in the Philippines. In 1859, the Franciscan Juan de Plasencia reported that for communal festivals, the early Tagalogs built a temporary shelter beside the chieftain's house, which was large enough to house the entire community. His study documents many uses of the palm leaf, such as the Cruz sa Lukay or palm leaf cross for Palm Sunday. And better yet, especially here in Cebu, coconut strips are made into rice pouches as they wrap boiled rice in what we all know as the Puso or hanging rice. In Eastern Samar, they are called lambay.
In Lanao, Pioso. In Mindoro, Pioso Puso. In Tawi-Tawi, Katumpat. In Basilan, Tamu. In Holo, Tamu. And in Aklan, Tamo. As the shape has evolved into many different wonderful forms of the Cebuano, it is often the kinasing that we eat here. Early Spanish missionaries, particularly those who were assigned in the islands of Cebu, Panay, Samar, and Leyte, did not fail to notice the beauty and the utility of the puso. Fray Juan Jose Delgado, a Jesuit missionary in Giguan, Samar, in the early 1700s learned how to bring boiled puso to his trips to cut wood in the mountains. They not only made it convenient to bring but also kept the rice fresh for a longer time. Fray Francisco Ignacio Alsina, on the other hand, noted the use of the puso as offerings in the different paganito rituals performed by the Babaylans to their diwata spirits. Some used the hinawig, which is woven in the shape of a large hen. An earlier Samarnon Linete Bisayan lexicon is the classic Vocabulario de la Lengua Bisaya, prepared in the beginning of the 1600s by Father Mateo Sanchez, but printed only by Gaspar Aquino de Belen in 1711. Sanchez noted that weaving puso is usually done by women. Quote, "Papamusoon ko nin iton mga babayi." But there were so many different shapes of puso that he found it necessary to enumerate the 14 that he knew. Unfortunately, Sanchez simply enumerated the names of the different puso but did not describe them. Nevertheless, by looking at how he defined this in his vocabulario, we may get some sense of how this puso might have looked. If you venture into the Tabuan market here in Cebu, there are at least 8 shapes such as the binaki, the kinasing, the tinigib, and the pinagi. Noche Seda even stumbled on more complicated shapes of rice pouches woven for the ritual offerings in Tap-Tap Cebu, such as the binosa and the mananaw, and since these are offerings, the puso are woven to look as attractive as white phalaenopsis. Mr. Reynaldo Inosian of the Cebu Normal University in 2002 also documented the puso in a monograph entitled "The Puso as Ritual Object," which includes detailed illustrations without written instructions on weaving 6 types of rice pouches known in Cebu, like the binosa, the kinasing, the pudol, the badbaranay, the binaki, and the mananaw. Now let's take a look at how the puso is made here at the Sitio Pusuan in Talisay City. We start with the weaving process, and this is the classic kinasing na puso. After the puso is made, it's ready to be filled with rice, and when it's filled with rice and the water has been boiling in the drum, the rest of the puso is dropped into the boiling water to be cooked for 30 minutes. Okay, now the puso is ready. Here we go. We lift it up from the water, and in a matter of minutes, when it's cooled, it's ready to eat. Voila! Puso is a cultural marker, which is why the Cultural Historical Affairs Commission of Cebu City chose it as its logo. We often eat it with roasted meat like lechon, and be it the roast pork suckling or the manok or chicken. And for more information, you are welcome to enjoy Noche Seda's Palaspas, as it has many stories to tell, and the joy of their discovery is not only fun but incomparable.
So now let's have our Puso workshop. Let us proceed outside so that we can have a demonstration of how we make the puso.